Now, there is no doubt about it. Big money can get very ugly, and not just when it comes to outsourcing. Greg Palast is an investigative reporter specializing in voter suppression. He's out with a new book, Billionaires and Ballot Bandits, How to Steal the Election in 9 Easy Steps. Greg, welcome inside the War Room.
Glad to be with you, Governor.
All right, so you make a really bold claim, which is that people like Karl Rove and the Koch brothers, with the help of people like Nathan Spruill, and just to remind our viewers, Nathan Spruill is the guy that the Republican committee hired to register Republicans only in districts in Florida and perhaps other states, that those billionaires, with the help of Nathan Spruill, plan to steal 6 million votes this election. That's what you claim. How is that possible?
Bobby Kennedy, law professor, by the way, Bobby Kennedy and I did an investigation for Rolling Stone. I was also at BBC Television. And we went through the raw data of the Elections Assistance Commission. It's amazing what you can see when you're looking. And in the last election, 2.7 million votes, ballots, were cast and never counted. Now, these are glitches, absentee ballots not counted because they had the wrong envelopes. But you'll love this one, Governor. If you are African American, the chance your ballot will not get counted, they call it spoiled, is 900% higher than if you're a white voter, 500% higher than if you're a Latino voter than a white voter. That's 2.7 million ballots plus 3.2 million voters were wiped off the voter rolls in the last election. This time it's going to be worse. And how does this happen? How come black voters have a tough time getting their ballots counted? How come they get wiped off the voter rolls? The answer is...
So how does it happen? What's the deal? What's going on?
I'll give you two things, Data Trust and Themis. Themis is a giant data mining operation that was funded and created by the Koch brothers. Data Trust is run by a guy that George Bush gave the flowery name of Turd Blossom, Mr. Karl Rove. He runs something called Data Trust. These operations act like electronic drones, knocking out and challenging the votes, the ballots, and the registration almost exclusively of minority voters.
But how does that work? I don't get it. How does that electronically happen? I don't understand the mechanism.
There's two ways. For example, I was the reporter that broke the story for BBC of how Catherine Harris, back in 2000, knocked off tens of thousands of black voters off the voter rolls. You know, she called them felons. They were criminals. They were voting while black. That game is back. What they do is they take databases of convicted felons, and they use a name, a common black name, like Robert Moore, and they knock off all the black Robert Moores on the voter rolls of Florida. In fact, in the current list, this is not Catherine Harris, this is the current list, a convict named Robert Moore, who is white, by the way, resulted in the removal of Mrs. Bobby Moore from the voter rolls of Florida. That's how they play the game.
So when the real Robert Moore shows up, somehow, this has to be done in partnership with these secretaries of states who are probably from Republican. Yeah, okay. Let me just quickly shift. Yeah, let me quickly jump into another billionaire that you also talk about. We hear about the Koch brothers all the time, obviously, but another name that is Home Depot financier Ken Langone. I want us to listen to him, just a soundbite really quickly. Take a listen.
If he's listening or one of his people are listening, you can quote me exactly for what I said. He is not acting presidential. He is behaving in a way designed, in my opinion, to divide us, to make us look at each other with skepticism, with suspicion. That's the end of America as we know it when that happens.
Okay, so Mr. Langone and his ilk, they're obviously afraid of President Obama. Just really quickly, are there others like him that we should be concerned about investing in schemes like this?
By the way, I want to tell you that billionaire Langone is the guy that created the list of black voters to wipe out that was given to Catherine Harris. He's the guy that did it. He's the guy that did it. And he needed a new president. Why? Yeah. Because he was facing insider trading charges.
All right, Greg, we've got to either have you back or make sure that our viewers read your book, because you've got a lot in there, a lot packed in there, and I got to go. It's Greg Palast, author of Billionaires and Ballot Bandits, How to Steal the Election in 9 Easy Steps. More to come in the War Room right after this.